the Mara Triangle, all the way up in Kenya. My name is Steve Falconbridge, and I'm joined by Archie on camera. I'd like to welcome all the new viewers and Allenton Elementary, Shelton Park Elementary. Welcome to this live game drive safari from myself in the Mara, and we're going to have some friends joining us shortly, all the way down 1600 miles down in South Africa, and we have a present for you. Something very cute and cuddly in the long grass. Please, boys and girls from the elementary school, send your questions and comments through with your teacher. We'd love to have you interactive with us this afternoon. Tell us what you think. Let us know what you'd like to see. We have found some lions. Yes, they are lions and they are wild. You can see there's a couple adults there and there's a little cub, 2 cubs. Aren't they just the cutest little things? We believe this is part of one of the prides here that we call the Marsh Breakaway Pride. And we had them this morning in this area eating what we think was a warthog. We're not sure because all we saw was a foot. It's very hard to identify an animal just by the foot. Isn't that just the most precious thing you've ever seen? Oh, it's very cute. It's so nice to see little cubs running around and moving. You can see the adults are basically just lying down, doing not too much. There in the background you can see a couple other cubs and a big foot of another lioness, and that is where we think the meat was that they had this morning. But it's very hard to see what's going on in there at the moment. It's just a bundle of kittens or cats and feet. Lots of fur balls. There's 2 lioness, 3, 4, 5 lioness it seems, lying flat in the grass. That's what lions do best at this time of day, enjoying the shade of a wonderful tree in what we call the savanna biome. Savanna biome because it's made up of trees and grass. Allenton, you are learning about animal habitats. Now, we've been talking a little bit about habitats this morning. Well, there we have the cub going in and suckling. The cubs are still quite young. They look about 3-4 months. They're still quite dependent on mum for milk. So animal habitats and lion habitats, lions enjoy to have we've got the female coming in from the left there, Arch. If you just want to pan left, here she's coming in. There's the cubs. This is perfect lion habitat. There's lots of animals, there's long grass, there's small bushes. Look at all of those little cubs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've come alive just for you out there. I hope you are enjoying. So this is what we call a pride, and a pride of lions is made up of the females, so mummies, sisters and daughters, and those youngsters there could be young boys there, but when they get about 3, plus minus 3 or so, they get pushed away and they have to go do their own thing. But if they're female, they'll stay in the pride with their mother and their grandmother, and they eat meat. And these guys like to hang around in the savannah where there's lots of camouflage for them. There needs to be some shade, as you can see. It gets very hot out here. It's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So without the shade, I don't think most of the animals in the area would survive. So habitat, you need food, you need water. There's lots of water behind us. About a few miles is the Maasai Mara River, and we are in a very big marshy swamp system where there is lots of water because the soil is very marshy. So the water is here, there's animals around. We just spent some time just now with a big herd of giraffe. There's lots of impala and buffalo, and all of these things are very important for the lions and for their food. Oh, look at that. So you see, we counted about 8 little cubs there. Derek, what other different animals, you ask, there are out here? And we will show you. But we have elephants, we have buffaloes, there are black rhinos somewhere, there are cheetah, hyena, Pumbaa the warthog, of course, and there are lots and lots of birds. We've got waterbuck and giraffe. What else? There's a whole list of them out here. The topee and the Thompson's gazelle. And we're hoping to, in the next 45 minutes, show you as many of these animals as we can. I do have 2 other friends that are out with me, and I believe they are looking at some other animals as we speak. So you are very fortunate that you have quite a few of us around to show you all the animals as they go about what they do. Beautiful to see these lionesses together. And lots of babies. They like to have their babies at the same time, so that they can also suckle them at the same time. It doesn't really matter if it's mum or auntie who suckles the baby. That's one of the benefits of lions. Oh, isn't she just too cute? Don't you think you could just walk up there and scratch her on the tummy? I wouldn't advise that. These are wild, wild animals, and this is coming to you live from the Mara Triangle in Kenya. There we go. Look at that. A little rub on the head. That's what lions do. They're very social. They like to spend time together, and they do a lot of fighting when they feed, so they have to spend a lot of time giving each other cuddles, because they do get quite aggressive when they eat. So when they're not eating, they do lots of licking and rubbing, and the little cubs do lots of playing as well. Look at that. Probably one of the cutest things in the world is a little lion cub. But look how camouflaged it is in the long grass there, boys and girls. If Archie just pans out a bit, you actually see how these animals all disappear. Ava and Aiden ask, why do lions eat meat? That is how they have been created, to eat meat. There are lots of animals out here that eat meat, and there's lots of them that eat grass and lots that eat leaves, so there needs to be a balance. And you see how the lions just disappear in the long grass. Can you imagine you're walking here? You just see that little flick of a tail. So you see there's lots of grass out here, and lots of trees, and there's lots of animals that eat the grass and the trees. And if we didn't have any animals that ate those animals, then it would be out of balance. So nature out here is all about balance, and if you have lots of herbivores, such as buffalo and impala and wildebeest, then you need lots of lions and hyenas to eat them. It is the circle of life. It is just the way it is. Lions are fully adapted to eat meat. Their teeth are designed to cut and to shear and to gorge into meat. That is the way they are. All the carnivores, so all the animals that eat meat. So jackal, hyena, lion, leopard, cheetah, all their teeth are perfectly designed to cut meat. We use knives to cut our meat. We do use our teeth sometimes, but it doesn't work as well as a knife. But lions have got everything they need in their mouth. Isn't that marvelous? Wild lions coming to you from Kenya. So we think they had a warthog this morning. We're not sure if it was a warthog, but it didn't go very far between them. 5 adult lionesses. The cubs aren't really eating too much meat at the moment. They'll eat a little bit, but they're drinking a lot of mum's milk right now. And so they make use of the shade now to sleep with their full bellies. And while we watch them a bit longer, we're going to go all the way down to South Africa. I believe my friends there, Scott Dyson, is now out on safari, and he has found for you an absolutely wonderful bird, which is the national bird of Botswana.
The big cats that we're interested about seeing on safari, but also the birds. And a lot of the times the lions are hard to find, and lots of the birds we get to see out here are beautiful, just like this one. This bird's got lots of different colors, about 7 or 8 colors. And oh, there it goes. Off to find another branch to sit on, where they like to wait and look for their prey, where they fly down and then catch them. My name's Scott, and it's wonderful to have all the kids with us on their first safari. And we are in South Africa now, so you've moved from Kenya right to the southern tip of Africa, where we are driving around in a different reserve to where Steve is, and I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera. We are hoping to find another big cat for you this afternoon. Not a lion, not a cheetah, but a leopard. And they are my favorite big cats, and there's quite a few of them here, more than in the Mara where you were with Steve. The area here is better for leopards than it is up in the Mara, because it's very open in the Mara, and leopards like to sneak around and have lots of hiding places. but they certainly.
Welcome back. We're sorry about that, folks. We're having a few technical difficulties in South Africa, but you must imagine we're trying to stream live broadcasting to you all the way from South Africa to wherever you are in the world. And look at what has just come out of the forest. The world's largest land mammal, the African elephant. And to the right of it there is a Cape buffalo. You can't really see because his head is down, but there that looks like 2 bull elephants on the left and then 2 buffalo on the right. Look at that. They are feeding, I think they're, oh, it's actually one. It's one buffalo, the lion on its back, because they like to sit in mud. And it's also what is important for buffalo's habitat is mud. They like to wallow in the mud to keep them nice and cool, and there are lots of biting flies. Oh, Sydney, you're asking a question. I'm busy answering that question. You ask, why do they swim in muddy water? First of all, buffaloes need the mud to help them cool down. If you cover yourself in mud, it keeps the sun off of you, and also the mud can be quite cool. Another reason is that there's lots and lots of insects that bite here and sting, and by covering yourself in mud, you keep those things from stinging you. It's almost like you're putting on some form of covering. There we go. Look at those big horns, big bull buffalo. And another reason is also that there's lots of ticks that we find out here, and the ticks, they suck the blood of the buffalo, and if the buffalo wallows in the mud, he covers his body in mud, and it actually suffocates those ticks and they fall off because they can't breathe through the mud. So it's very important for them. So when it comes to buffalo habitat, they also need shade. Very important for them to have shade, and they need long grass like what you can see here, and then they need to be very close to water. And then mud wallows are very, very important. I think they actually enjoy it. Oh, look at that. Look in the front of the picture there, boys and girls. What have we got? I wonder if any of you can tell me what that is lurking in the grass, looking at the lions with those pointed ears. It's not a fox. It's not a jackal. Giovanni, you are wondering if there are hyenas? You have just answered your own question, young sir. Oh, that was a hyena that has just slumped down onto the ground. We had a few hyena here this morning that were competing with these lions, but they were very scared. I thought they were going to have a bit more fun with them, but they were way too scared. The lions chased them off. But these females are ferocious. They made a lot of noise, and the hyenas tucked their tails and ran away. Well, there we go. Elephants, you see 2 youngsters on the left having a little bit of a play, and then some more on the right. Micah asks if there's water near the elephants, and this whole area that we're in is very marshy. There's a lot of water on the ground, and behind the elephants, that big tree line indicates that there's water, and on the other side of that is the massive big Mara river that comes all the way. Oh, there the hyena's running in the front. There he goes. Isn't that marvelous? I think it looks like a female. But yes, there is water on the other side of the tree, and in the marsh there's lots of water. So elephants' habitat, they need lots of water as well, like the buffalo. They need lots of trees and lots of grass, and essentially lots of large, wide open spaces for them to be able to survive. And what's really interesting is that when we conserve elephants, because they need such a big area, huge area to conserve elephants, by conserving elephants we conserve everything else, from the little beetles to the little insects to the little flowers and plants that we find. So that's marvelous, the conservation. And this is all wild. These animals are all wandering through the wilderness. They're all just doing their own thing. We don't lock them up anywhere. They move completely freely within Kenya and Tanzania. There's no fences around here. On the very east and west there might be, but there's huge areas for them to move. Derek, no, Derek, you can't touch the animals. These animals are wild animals, and that's what's wonderful, is we can come out here and they get quite used to the vehicle, so we can get quite close to them in the vehicle, but I would by no means try and get out of my car and go and touch them. That is not supposed to happen. There are places in the world where you can touch wild animals, but they are rehabilitated, or they are in petting zoos and not ideally wild. So these animals are completely wild, and what we can see, and you've seen now already, it's a buffalo, elephant, and the lion on the left. All three are part of the Big Five. Have you heard of the Big Five, boys and girls? The Big Five is how we advertise and get people to come out here. They are 5 very dangerous animals, and it is a very good marketing tool, because when we get you out here and we talk about the elephants and we talk about the buffalo, we then get a chance. Oh, look at the little babies. We then get a chance to talk about insects and grasses and trees, which is always very interesting to me. Isn't that special? So you can see they're using that trunk to grab the grass, which they're then putting in their mouth. Elephants, like the buffalo, are feeding on very similar sort of vegetation right now, and this area has got a huge amount of grass for them to feed on, which is very important, and it enables us to have lots and lots and lots of animals in the area, which is very special. So we're going to go from these very special animals to my friend Jamie, who's on the other side of the river we see there, who's got another very special animal.
I've got 2 very special animals and a very warm welcome to the kids who have joined us today. I hope that you are having the best time. Now, we'll take a look at the zebra in a moment, but just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Jamie, and this afternoon Adrian is on camera with me, and we are sitting with some lovely, lovely zebra. So there we go. There are the zebra over there. And if you look closely, you can see that they've also got some passengers riding on their backs. Now, that is a type of bird known as an oxpecker. And the oxpecker actually combs through the zebra's fur to catch things like ticks and parasites and all kinds of other things. Now, looking at the zebra, I can tell you that this zebra has been a very, very lucky zebra. Look at that. Can you see that scar there along the back of the zebra? You can see its stripes don't quite match up. There's a little bit of grey skin there, and there down the back of its leg. Now, that could easily have been when it tried to, or when it did actually successfully escape from a lion or another type of predator. So those look to me like potential claw marks from where a lion tried to catch the zebra. And in this case, the zebra was lucky and it actually managed to escape. Now, I don't necessarily know for certain that was caused by a lion or something like that, because it could also have been caused by another zebra. Believe it or not, zebra are actually quite aggressive animals, especially with each other. And even the females will kick and bite when another one gets into the sort of the wrong place in her line. So zebra are very, very, I suppose you could say, quite rough with each other. The stallions fight each other. They bite and they kick in order to be able to get a female to have the right to mate with her. And the females often kick each other just because they can. Now, in this case, this looks like a male zebra. It's quite hard to tell sometimes, but this looks like a male zebra to me. And so it could possibly have been caused in a fight with another male zebra. Now, Brianna, there's a good question. Now, Brianna's wanting to know, why a zebra have stripes? I'll tell you a little secret. Nobody actually knows why zebra have stripes. Lots of people have come up with lots of different reasons. So one of the explanations put forward is that it helps to camouflage them. That's the main explanation. That's the main reason why people say zebra have stripes. It helps to hide them away. Now, you might think, but I can see them really clearly, but that's because they're close to us. Now, in a big herd of zebra, when a predator is chasing them, the stripes sort of make them all blend into each other. So it's hard for the predator to decide which one they're going to try and catch, which zebra they're going to try and catch. But there's other explanations as well. Some people say it helps because it's hot out here, because the black stripes heat up faster than the white stripes. Some people say it's for insects. So there's lots and lots of different explanations. And the truth is, and I think it's a wonderful thing, is that nobody actually knows for certain. But the main argument for zebras having stripes is camouflage. Isn't that fascinating? That even though we've spent so much time with these animals and people have done so much research, they still don't know everything there is to know. That's just one of the complicated things of life out here. Now, if we go back and join Steve with his elephants, he can tell you that we definitely don't know everything there is to know about them either.
Thanks, Jamie. We have got the cutest little bunch of elephants here. There's some females there with a whole lot of babies. And can you see the question you asked before? Is there water nearby? See how these elephants are picking up the mud. There's lots of mud around. They pick the mud up, and like the buffalo, they like to throw it all over their skin. It also helps them to keep cool. Look at that beautiful elephant. Lots of them around. Avery, that's a very good question. How long? Oh, there's the hyena again. The elephant has just chased the hyena. How long does an elephant live? It's quite similar to us. Elephants up in the Maasai Mara can live up to about 65 years, plus minus. When you go down to sort of South Africa, where they feed a lot more leaves and sticks and bark, probably 55 to 60, because eventually their teeth wear down and they don't have the benefit of a dentist like we do. And their teeth wear down and eventually it's very sad to say, they starve to death. But up here, because there's so much more grass and moisture, they live a little bit longer. But let's look at these Ellie some more, because they are having so much fun over there. Look at all those little babies there. They're also busy playing in the mud. Marina, how do elephants eat, you ask? Well, you see that trunk that they're busy using to pick up the mud? They do the same with the trunk. The tip of, look, there's a baby underneath her there rolling on the floor. They use the trunk, and the tip of the trunk has actually got two very, very good fingers. And they use it. Here we go. Let's see if this one's going to do it now. There we go. Look how it's using the trunk. And it's busy ripping up the grass or whatever foliage that might be. It wraps it around. They've got very, very good smell. And they know what they're looking for. They smell what they're looking for. And they grab it with their trunk. There's just another vehicle behind there. There's a lot of people driving in and out of the Maasai Mara and the triangle. You do have the opportunity to come up here and do it yourselves. And then it takes that grass and it sticks it in the mouth. So the trunk is very, very important for the elephant. You see how they're sucking up the mud? And they throw it on there. They also suck up water and then put it in their mouth as well. And they also breathe through that trunk. So the trunk is very, very important for the survival of these animals. And look how that baby is just loving the mud. Isn't that so cute? Oh, he's struggling to stand up now. They're all very young, these babies. And they're covered in mud to help them keep cool. Because it is hot for them today. They're not used to being this hot. And look at that, falling in the mud. Oh, look at that one. There's a big one rolling in the mud. Now, there's only one other animal, apart from humans, I believe, that has fun with itself. And that is elephants. And look at that. Okay, well, we're going to stay with these elephants and their long trunks. We're going to go to Jamie, who's also got something long but slithery.
I can't believe it, kids. This is so amazing, and I'll tell you why it's so amazing is because just a few moments ago I was asked a question about whether there are lots of snakes in the grass, and we spoke about the fact that there are probably more of them in the rocky areas. Well, look at this. It's a massive black-necked spitting cobra. How how cool is that? Now, I know lots of you will probably be quite scared of snakes, and that's okay. It's okay to be scared of snakes, but you don't need to be. What you need to do is respect snakes. So they don't mean us any harm. They're actually amazing animals. They really are. There are so many fascinating things about a snake. The trick is to know how to treat them and never to play with them unless it is a harmless snake that is somebody's pet. But you should never ever play with snakes or try to pick them up unless an adult says that it's okay. That's one of the ways that you can absolutely avoid being bitten, because a snake is only going to bite you if it is afraid of you. So you don't want to make them afraid. Now, this is one of the most venomous snakes that we get out here. Now, what does venomous mean? Venomous means that if it bites you, you will get very, very sick. If it bites you or it stings you. But poisonous is if you eat something and it makes you very sick. So that's an important difference. A snake is not poisonous. You could probably eat it if you really wanted to. Probably don't, though. But a snake is venomous, and this is one of the most venomous snakes, but I'm not afraid because I know how snakes behave. Now watch the way that it moves, and just look how beautiful its scales are. Look how they shine in the sun, and look at the power of this snake's muscles. You could just see the hood in the front of its head. That's what makes cobras famous. They've got a hood just behind the head that flares up if they're frightened. And this one can spit, so it can actually spit venom, which is why you always, if you're getting close to one of these, you want to make sure you've got some kind of glasses on. But a snake will always move away from you. See how the snake's not attacking us? We're right up close to us. It's not attacking us. It's just trying to move away. So it's not angry. I could upset it if I were to try and get too much closer. But it's not angry. It's just trying to move away. That's awesome. Now, Caleb, you want to know why snakes go in the grass? Well, Caleb, for some of them, it's where their prey is. So a snake like this hunts mice and different types of rodents, and they eat seeds that are in the grass, so they have to go into the grass to look for prey. It's also, for some of them, where they are quite camouflaged, and most of them will have holes that they can hide in somewhere around here. Oh, this is so cool. I'm so excited. The snake must be over 1.5 meters. Let's see. It is moving away from us, so I'm just going to let it get a little bit further, and then we'll try and go a little bit closer. This is so cool. I'm so excited. Not many people get to see a snake like this. It's lifting up its head to listen to the sound of the car, or to watch the car go past. Now, snakes are amazing. Snakes can basically taste smells in the air. So when you see a snake flickering its tongue, it's actually basically trying to smell. It's gathering up particles of smell, and it is pulling it into its mouth. And it's basically its way of tasting a smell. And a snake is also very good at detecting movement. That's why if there's a snake that is really upset or frightened, the best thing is to stay still so that it doesn't think that you're attacking it. If you stay still, it'll just start to move away. Now, Avery, you want to know, how do snakes get so long? Well, some snakes don't. Some snakes stay short, but snakes like cobras and mambas grow very quickly. And they're long because they have lots and lots of vertebrae. Do you know what vertebrae are? Vertebrae are the bones in your back. Now, a snake has loads more vertebrae than you do. Loads and loads more vertebrae. As well as lots and lots of ribs. Way more ribs than you have. And it all comes together to make the snake really long. And part of it is the head and the body, and then part of it is the tail. And they're really narrow like that because their organs are all sort of made really nice and long. So they're not like us, where we sort of, all of our organs sit in our tummy. Their tummies are really stretched out. Let's see if we can go around to get a better view, just so that it doesn't disappear completely. I can't see where it went now. There it is. Okay, I'm hoping it's not going to go and hide in a hole. If we go, you know what? I think it might have a hole here. No, there it goes, there it goes. Okay, it's got a bit of a fright. Let's just sit still. Now, Logan wants to know why snakes stick their tongues out. So, Logan, that's what I was explaining to you. A snake has got really, really sensitive cells in its mouth. So, a snake sticks out its tongue. Look how it's shining. That's not because it's wet. That's just because it's smooth. So a snake sticks out its tongue. It gathers up like the particles in the air. So it almost sort of melts onto its tongue, and then it pulls the tongue back into its mouth, and it's got a very sensitive type of organ on the top of its palate. So if you put your tongue up against the top of your mouth, and a snake has got a very sensitive organ there that allows it to taste the smells that it's picking up. So basically what that means is if you picture a smell like a color, this snake can smell where the mice have gone through, almost like a trail. It can see where the mouse was, and it can see where the mouse went, but it's through the smell. And that's why snakes flick their tongues. And the reason that they have a forked tongue is they can actually get the direction of a smell. And don't you think that might be useful in class? When somebody lets something slip and pretends that they didn't? Well, snakes can actually detect where a smell came from, unlike human beings. Now that's why they have forked tongues. Now, Lilani, you want to know why don't snakes have legs? Well, it's one of the ways that they've evolved because they don't actually need them. Now, kids, I'm just going to say that I'm not going to follow the snake. Okay, so once it goes, it's gone, unfortunately, because if we follow it too much more, it's going to get really, really upset, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it scared or upset. So we're just going to let it disappear into the grass. So why don't snakes have legs? Some of the older snakes, like pythons and constrictors, they do actually have residual stumps near the back part of their tail where they used to have legs many, 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 many years ago. But it's a way that they can move through being very energy efficient, and they don't need legs because they've got these powerful muscles so that they can slide through the grass. It's a good question, though. It's very hard to explain why a snake doesn't have legs. It's a very good question. Now I'm going to show you something because our snake is disappearing, and I'm going to show you. I said that let me just get it up quickly. I said that they have a hood. Now I want to show you what a hood looks like. So let me just, in 1 second, I will show you what the hood looks like. So Ava, sorry, Faith, what was the question from Ava? Now Ava wants to know, why do snakes hide? There we go. There's a picture of the cobra with its hood out. Snakes hide because they want to remain secret and hidden. Most of them are ambush hunters. In other words, they grab their prey. That's what that snake looks like with its hood out. They sneak up on their prey and then they strike very quickly. So it's one way of hunting that means they don't have to chase whatever it is that they're hunting, because they could never keep up with something like a mouse or even possibly a frog. There we go. Thank you. So, hiding away keeps them safe from other predators. There's lots of birds out here that like to eat snakes. So hiding away, or a mongoose, for example, might also want to eat a snake. So hiding away keeps them safe from predators, keeps them safe from humans because they're scared of humans, and at the same time keeps them safe from birds as well. I'm so excited to have been able to show you that snake, and it was so perfect after the conversation we had about snakes in the grass. It was truly a perfect moment. Okay, our snake has moved off. We're going to let it be peaceful because it's not used to people around and it will get scared if we try to follow it. Luckily, the elephants of the Mara are not scared of people or cars. Let's go and join Steve with his.
Wow, you saw a snake. Oh, we have an elephant that just fell in the mud. This is a youngster that's followed the herd. And the herd had a good old wallow in the mud here and got thoroughly wet and muddy. Let's see if this one's going to go in that one as well. With the whole herd wallowing in there, and they've been running around on our right hand side. We'll go to them again shortly once this one moves. If it moves. But it's a young bull, I think. He's following slowly behind the herd. They always hang out in small family groups. Like the lions, it's with the big female or females that sort of run everything, and then all their little babies. The big males don't spend too much time with the breeding herds, even though there is a big one that's just gone into the herd there. Bison asks, is their trunk strong? Their trunk is incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. There's over 100,000 muscles in there, and I've seen an elephant walk up to a lion. The lion was on a riverbank about the same height as the elephant's face, and it just flicks it with its trunk, and the lion, which weighs about 250 pounds, maybe 280 pounds, did about 3-4 backward somersaults before landing on the floor. So their trunk is very strong. They use it for breaking branches, they push trees over, they also help to pick up their babies when they fall down. So the trunk is very, very strong. Beautiful herd there. They're all very, very wet, you can see. Feeling a lot cooler now because of the mud. Megan asks, why do elephants eat leaves? They eat leaves, they eat grass, they eat... Oh, Nathan, I'm sorry, Nathan. They eat grass, they eat twigs, they eat everything that's vegetation. They eat fruits, they love fruit. So that's just what they do. With a very big animal, with a body size like that, that's not the biggest of the elephants, but with a body size like that, they can't survive off of meat. You can't survive off a meat diet if you are that big. You need lots of vegetation. And the biggest and strongest animals in the world, including the gorilla, and the elephant, and even the big whales out there, all feed on green material. So it's not all about meat. If you had to eat meat and you're that big, wow, there would have to be a whole lot of meat. The biggest meat eaters, see, there's another big strong animal, and they just feed on grass. So the biggest meat eater we have in Africa is the lion, and they only get up to about 400 pounds, whereas the elephant, big elephant bull, can get up to about 1,300 pounds. Wow. We are going to be going all the way down to South Africa, where my friend Scott has got one of the small little predators that you don't often see. They're very camouflaged, and they feed on all sorts of things, from birds to snakes to lizards, and sometimes on fruit.
Well, it sounds like you guys have been having the most incredible safari, and I'm so happy you got to see a snake with Jamie, and also those elephants playing around in the mud with Steve. Now, elephants can be playful, but they can also be quite destructive, and if you look at this tree over here, as well as this one over here, they're both dead, and they both would have been killed by elephants who strip the bark off the trees, and if the bark is stripped off the tree no longer has a transport system. But even though the elephants kill these trees, a dead tree can provide homes to other smaller animals. And if we look around this tree, there's a nice big hole in which something like a squirrel could live, or some lizards maybe. Let's keep checking for any other holes. Maybe we'll find another little surprise. What's that? Is that a tail hanging out of the hole? It looks like it is. Let's go up and take a closer look. It looks like the tail of some kind of a cat-like creature to me. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to get some more views of whatever it is once we get a bit closer, but it might be scared of us. Looks like it's moving back into the hole a little bit. And it's going to be tricky if I help Senzo by shining my spotlight on that hole. might see a few spots. There you go. You can see the spotted coat of what is called a genet, and it's a very small leopard-like creature that spends most of its time out and about when it's dark at night, and it's obviously just snoozing today, and it's quite a hot day. That's probably why it's dangling its tail outside of the hole. I'm not doing a very good job shining the spotlights in the same spot, but there we go. And just a good reminder to everyone that even though elephants do cause a lot of damage and destruction, had the elephants not killed this tree, it wouldn't have provided a home for this small little genet. Now sadly I don't have a book with me, so maybe you'll have to ask your teacher to get a picture of a genet for you guys, so you know exactly what animal was hiding in this hole. Okay, we need to rush you back up to the Maasai Mara with Steve.
Thank you, Scott. From your small predator, we've got a hyena. There's 2 hyena here, and the buffalo came charging from about 30 yards. Let's see what he does. Buffalo don't like predators. See, hyenas will feed on young buffalo, and they will even kill medium-sized buffalo if they can. And that big bull, he's on his own. He gets up to about 2,000 pounds. You see here a little bit of a jump there. There are lions nearby, so they get quite skittish. And when they see these small predators coming near them, they often will charge them. That's what they do. It's their best form of defense. That's why they have those big horns on the head. And these hyena are coming charging. I'm not sure where they're going. Avery, very good question. Hyenas hunt, they got a very good sense of smell, and they often hunt in what we call a clan of hyena. So they're very good runners. You see the shape of the body, the front legs or shoulders taller than the back, and they chase animals down. They got the most powerful bite in the animal kingdom, and what they do is they will bite, and they can actually chase an animal, and they're such fast endurance animals that then when they chase something, they'll bite it and bite it and bite it, and eventually the animal will fall down and quite often will die of blood loss and shock. But also hyenas are very good scavengers, and they quite often will pick up and find the meat of dead animals, so they're very good recycler of the bush. It's important to recycle, and hyenas are very good at that. They are closely related to the lions, more closely related than to dogs, can you believe it? Trinity wants to know, why do they have spots? Well, their name is the spotted hyena, and the spots give them some camouflage. So it allows them to sort of go unnoticed out here. I don't know if it works very well because they're always running around, but maybe when they're sitting still, they go invisible. But it would be a form of camouflage for their hunting. But I think they've evolved past the spots because they chase animals, so they don't need to be as stealthy. But I suppose it helps if they can get a little bit closer to an animal that they're chasing before they try and chase it, save them some energy. But you saw how it was moving there. They can run like that for hours on end. They're very, very good marathon runners, and they often will chase animals into the ground. So that is their strategy for hunting. And yes, the spotted hyena, aren't they beautiful? They are also regarded as the ugly 5. Do you think they're ugly? I think they're rather cute. And I know Ralph, who's sitting at home, one of my fellow presenters, absolutely loves the hyena. In this area, because the lions are over here, the hyena are up and down. We're not quite sure what's happening, but we're going to keep focusing on them. We're going to go back, I think, to the lions and see what it is that they're doing. Maybe there's some more action over there. Lions. Aidan asks, why are hyenas camouflaged? I think I kind of answered that before. When they are sitting just in the long grass, they're quite invisible to other animals. And also if they want to get a bit closer to animals when they're hunting, it enables them to sort of get close without being seen. That's the main purpose. Also, they want to camouflage from lions as well, because lions are their big competitor. So important for them to stay hidden if possible. But all of this action, folks, is happening within a very small area. We've still got the elephants here. We left the lions just over there. We've got buffalo, hyena. This is all coming to you 100% live. This is magical. Magical stuff. and we're going to just pop back to the lions here. We wonder if this other vehicle has seen it. I think they have. There are lots of other private vehicles and lodges in the Maasai Mara. You can actually come here with your family and drive around here on your own. It's quite an adventure. You need a proper four-wheel drive vehicle because there's lots of areas where you can get very stuck. If you like getting stuck, it's not a problem. But I know all my friends up here have gotten stuck for quite some time, for many hours on end. And there we have them. They are still lying down. I wonder if that's why they call them lions. How's that visual for you, Archie? Got a couple cubs moving around, but the adults are not doing too much. But this is what the lions do, boys and girls. You asked, why do elephants eat vegetation? Elephants need it because of their huge size, and they can walk around all day. Lions eat meat and they sleep all day long. 20 hours. Can you imagine sleeping for 20 hours every single day? Not ideal, eh? Not ideal. But we are going to be saying goodbye to you, Allenton School, both the elementary schools. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. It's been wonderful having you. I hope you've learned lots about habitats and about animals. It's been wonderful having you here. We are going to stay here with these lions for a little bit longer. Who knows what else is going to come up. And while we do that, we're going to be going all the way back down to South Africa. And to my friend Scott, who I think might still have that wonderful Janet.
So interesting stuff there with Steve. And I'm sure Steve is having a wonderful time at Mara. And we are now kind of just cruising around, no huge updates. For those of you who weren't with us on the sunrise safari, excuse me, it was quite a tough morning out here. The much needed rain that we got yesterday afternoon and late last night sadly has washed all evidence of tracks and signs away from us. So it was incredibly tricky going, and there wasn't too much sign of anything moving around Djuma this morning. It's not to say that there wasn't, of course. What you tend to find is that the ground becomes quite hard and compacted with all the moisture in most areas, and only once you've driven on the roads a few times does it become a nice soft kind of substrate where the animals' tracks will be easier to see. So we're gonna cruise about and hopefully find any sign of Thandi and her cub, who is a leopardess with a small, about 3-month-old little cub. And we knew where she was yesterday morning, but between then and now a lot could have happened. Tom, you would like to know if this is kind of normal? Well, no, not really. I mean, this is almost the 3rd year in a row that this area hasn't got the required rainfall in our summer months, and that is when we receive most of our rainfall here in South Africa. It's just the southern tip of South Africa that has a Mediterranean climate and has winter rainfall, but the rest of our country experiences summer rains. And like I said, for the last 3 years, well, including this would be the 3rd, it hasn't been good rains. So it's not normal, no, not the dry season, and it is could have something to do with the way us humanoids are plundering the planet in many different ways, as I'm sure you're aware. And we're noticing lots of different weather patterns and kind of changes globally, not just here in Africa. So who knows what's going to happen, but I'm hoping we do get some more rains, otherwise it's going to be a very long and hard winter for mainly the herbivores. But I mean, even during the last couple of years, even the predators have suffered because they find that their prey, even though it's numerous and easy to catch, it's like eating a burger from a certain outlet with big yellow kind of things like that aren't very nutritious, as opposed to eating a nutritious burger from another kind of an outlet. So basically all of the predators are eating undernourished prey, and that in turn led them to become undernourished, and a lot of cubs were actually lost due to a terrible disease called white mussel disease. Alrighty then. I'm not too sure exactly where I'm sending you to, but you are going to go somewhere else, and I'm sure they've got something interesting to tell you.
Well, you were sending it to the other bearded fella that is out here this afternoon, in Djuma that is, and we are out on our bushwalk, and it is a sticky, muddy affair this afternoon, and both Ferg and I are having a bit of a sweat as we're trying to walk quite rapidly towards our southern boundary. Now, the reason why we're trying to walk down to the southern boundary is because we want to try and see if we can go check up on some signs of Tingana. So I know a lot of you have been asking about it, so we're going to try and go and have a little look at what's going on. There's a few reports that I'll get into shortly, but before I get into all of that, as Scott didn't mention, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Fergus, and we are accompanied by Rex this afternoon. So we're going to try and see, like I said, to get down to the southern boundary, and the reason why is because this morning I spoke to some of the guides, and they were telling me that they had Tingana, as we know, under that bush for 2 days, and he didn't move too much. And then we had a situation where he went into Chitwa Lodge, and he was seen at Chitwa Bar, and then he was seen around the spa, and from there they then saw. That is the last time that he was seen, and it is now almost, I think, 10 or 11 days since he was last seen. There's no tracks for him, and so I want to go behind Chitwa Dam wall because I want to check if maybe Tingana possibly is still behind that dam wall. It would be a very long shot if he is, and I surmise if he is behind that dam wall, well, then there is a very real possibility that he is no longer with us, which is a very, very big thing to say. But since there's no tracks, no signs, it's a worthwhile investigation to go and see. Maybe we get some indication that he's moved out of that area, and we find out that there's nothing going on and he's all okay. The other thing is that yesterday morning there was a report of a drag mark with big male leopard tracks coming out of Chitwa. So I'm hopeful that Tingana was recovering, and maybe he's made a kill, and maybe he's still inside that drainage line. So we're going to just have a little look. Careful there, Ferg. So what you don't want to be doing is walking over big trees like that. Sorry, Ferg, I know I'm making you walk backwards, so let me come past you so you don't have to walk backwards anymore. So poor Ferg was having to kind of go back and try and sort of backpedal through this thicket. But like I say, we're walking quite quickly to try and see if we can find him. Now, apparently, Lou, you want to challenge me to walk backwards, so I can walk backwards for a little bit, and it's not that bad as long as I kind of look what's going on. So Ferg is laughing because he says, yeah, just keep going, it gets worse. Now, sorry, Faith, I didn't exactly hear you because I was a impeding doom of a bush hitting me from behind, so I didn't hear your question. If you can just repeat it for me. Now, we're just still going along and trying. Wendy. So you're wondering if we're safe for looking for Tingana on foot. So Wendy, with Tingana, it's not the first time I've looked for him on foot, and it's certainly not the first time that I would have tracked him on foot. I've spent a lot of time tracking Tingana and have seen him, luckily, a few times on foot. Now, with Tingana, generally, his demeanor is one of trying to just kind of get away from you and trying to just sort of sneak off. So there is an element of danger, of course, and particularly if he maybe is under the weather or he's not well, but I would imagine that he will be okay and just generally get up and move away from us if we did find him. So the idea of this is to just try and establish what's actually going on. Is he okay? Is he not okay? What is the story? And to just try and get ourselves into a situation where we can kind of know what's been happening and try and figure out all of these things that have been going on and why this new male is being allowed to move into Djuma without any issues. Right. Now we're getting towards Mamba, so it's still quite a way to go for us. We have to kind of move our butts a little bit and use our lower limbs to go quite quickly through all of this. So we're going to try and just kind of keep to these game paths, which will send us straight towards where Chitwa is, and so that's what we're going to do. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve, who's got some playful cubs, I believe. Thanks, Tristan. We do indeed. We have the cubs that have probably drunk a little bit of milk and are feeling a little bit full and excited with themselves. Welcome back to all the usual internet viewers. We're having such an action-packed afternoon here in the marsh. It is now my most favorite place in the Mara. I think I was asked that right in the beginning. And after this morning and now this afternoon, we have had such a special time out here. And the lionesses are still quite flat. But what can we say? The cubs are having a little bit of fun just to the left of them. There they are. Aren't they just the cutest? They're all very much about the same age, it seems. Often lionesses will give birth to between 2 and 3 cubs. Joy asks if big cats respond to catnip like house cats do. I don't know, Joy. I've never tried. Maybe we should get some and test it out. I do know that cats are quite against pepper spray. I know that a friend of mine years ago was doing research, would put pepper spray on his camera traps to prevent the elephants from damaging them, and the cats quite enjoyed coming close to it, but as soon as they got too close they were quite offended by the smell, but it kind of attracted them slightly. But I don't think it's got anything to do with catnip. But at this age, you see, they will bite and chew anything. I think Tristan last night had one of the cubs taking the fur out of the big male lion's mane. Wasn't he so patient? It's a very important learning stage for these cubs. They're also trying to figure out their teeth, what they use them for. So anything they can bite is fantastic. We're just going to move a little bit forward. Archie reckons we might get a bit of a better visual. So if you just hold on for me, folks. There's a few other vehicles in the sighting with us. Obviously this is very special to see lions out, and especially cubs. Let me know when you're happy, Arch. A little bit more. Okay, there we go. We can get a few more of them. Remember, folks, this is coming to you live from the Mara Triangle. I haven't seen cubs of this age in a while. The one of the Nkuhumas down south is about this age, but it's not looking very healthy. I think that's got a lot to do with the competition of all its older siblings, whereas these are all about the same age. I think I counted 8 before. I have to have another little count. They're all out in the open now. There might be some sleeping. I can only see 4. But earlier it seemed like quite a few of them trailed the one lioness out. Oh no, there's 5 there. 5, there's probably some more there. That one's going to sneak up on Mum. Now watch the other one. It's going to come up behind. There's the play. Oh, the takedown. Look at that for a takedown. That's very important behavior when it comes to tackling down big prey. Taylor got some amazing footage of a lion jumping and pulling down a juvenile buffalo with a proper... Oh, there's another cub just popped up in the background. WrestleMania is on, folks. Who's going to win? Claw to the face. Such a cat-like gesture, isn't it? When they grab them around the head and then they claw them with their back claws. So we're going to stay here with these very cute cubs who are giving each other high fives there. Isn't that awesome? And I believe Jamie has managed to find and relocate, or should I say stay, with Malika. We're going to go to Jamie.
High fives all around for us, well, for Malika, who is on the opposite side of one very deep lugger. I'm pretty sure I can cross it. I'm almost certain I can cross it. We had a discussion about what a river is and what a lugger is. It's actually probably a river, to be honest. And unfortunately, I don't think that we should. Not right now. We can't afford to take a risk right now, unfortunately. So there's Malika and her 2 boys. At least we've managed to lay eyes on them. They're in the middle of double crossing. We'll have to come back here first thing tomorrow morning and go across the main part of double crossing and come and find her. But there she goes with her 2 boys. So at least we know where they are. Please don't go. Please come back this side. Please, girl. Life is going to be very difficult. There's so much to eat back here. You know you want to come back this way. I don't know if she's listening to me, but hopefully we find her tomorrow morning in the middle of double crossing, ready to come back to us. So we found our Cheetah. She's just not where we expected her to be. This is why I was so desperate to find her today and not to try again tomorrow. Because already she's moved, since we last saw her, about 5 kilometers in a straight line. And I mean, once you start letting a day or 2 go past, then you're really going to struggle to find the animals again, especially a female cheetah. Okay, I'm going to wave enviously at the cars that are across the lugger that I cannot cross or shouldn't cross. So while we wave goodbye to Malika and hope we catch up with her tomorrow morning, let's go back across to Scott all the way in South Africa and find out what his plans are on that side and if he thinks there's any chance of there being any uncrossable rivers there.
Well done to Jamie for finding Malika, her and the Lady of Leisure. The Lady of Leisure being Malika, not Jamie. Not that Jamie does enjoy a bit of leisure when she's not working hard to take you all on safari, but what I have noticed with Malika is that she's enjoys sleep. How many mornings Jamie spends with her fast asleep, and it seems to be a trend. I fell into the same boat when I also spent some time with Malika when I was back in the Mara, and it's a little bit of a tricky one because for our TV shows, of which we have 5 coming up starting on the 5th of Feb, starts early in the morning, and it's no good having Malika fast asleep for a 2-hour TV show. That's happened to me on 2 occasions with her. One time I should have ditched her. I could see a lion sighting off in the distance, and we could just see lions faintly through the binoculars, and we didn't have any idea what they were doing. And I decided to sit with Malika in the hope that she would get up, and then eventually I kind of ditched her with only a few minutes to spare and went over to the lions, and it was a magical sighting. Loads of lions, all finishing off a kill. Anyway, just some interesting, well, at least what I think is quite interesting regarding old Malika's early morning habits, which are to sleep in. Ilana, you would like to know if it is common for lions to have miscarriages. It's a very tricky question to answer, Ilana. The reason being is that even in areas where people like us may be following the lions or the leopards or the cheetahs very, very closely, to follow them to the degree that we would be able to know that they've had a miscarriage means we'd have to spend almost every minute with them. So even though I'm fairly sure it will happen from lioness, if her body's not well nourished and she's battling to get enough food, or she's getting stress from another coalition of males, a new coalition of males coming in, then that could, yes, certainly, I think, cause a miscarriage. How often it happens? Probably not as often as it happens with us humans. Nature has a way of eliminating any kind of weaknesses like that, whereas us as a human race have, with the help of healthcare, have worked around that, and therefore genetics that aren't necessarily sound are managing to get passed on from generation to generation. So that doesn't really happen as much in nature, and therefore I don't think it will be something that happens nearly as much as it happens with us humans. Animals.
Yeah. Sorry about the technical issues down in South Africa, folks, but don't worry, you're still strong here with us in the Mara, Archie and I at the helm, and we've got an elephant cow and a rather large calf that is still trying to suckle, which I'm quite surprised about. But what's interesting about it is they're not far away from where we are with these lions. The lionesses are still flat. They haven't done anything, but the cubs are getting all sorts of excitement on the side here, just to the left, Arch, a little bit. There we go, a couple of them chasing, and they're playing lots of games now. There we go, look at them. That one's a little bit bigger than the rest. He'll be getting a little bit more food than the others, and they all got some nice fat bellies at the moment, if it's just from milk or from maybe they had some of the warthog earlier. But look how beautiful those spots are that you see on lion cubs, which is a good indication that they evolved from a more of a forest-like species like the leopard. And as the savannas opened with the change in the ecosystems and the environment, with the splitting of Gondwana land and Antarctica moving south, and from that the change in currents and global warming changes, and the temperate forests disappeared and moved to more savanna. And as savanna opened up, you got these large ecosystems that we've been talking about, which facilitated much larger herbivores. When you think about a forest can only support a certain number and size of animal. And even the elephants back in the day when it was only forest were much smaller. But as the savannas opened and expanded, your herbivores got bigger, and then your predators also got to a bigger size. Oh, look at the lion climbing a tree. Sorry, that's just one of the other vehicles. They've had enough. They're playing. And so the lions got to a certain size, and you can tell that they've still got the camouflage from the forest. But instead of getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it's only sustainable to a certain size. They formed prides. This is what we have here, and it's what makes them so successful. Wonderful. There's elephants in the background. I don't think they're aware of the lions here, and I don't think they're going to pay too much attention. The lions are quite flat. But to carry on with my story there, it's very interesting. As the savanna grasslands spread, the herbivores, as I said, they increased not only in number but in size. That had led to the increase in predators. And with the creation of savannas, which I find amazing, 29 new families were formed, 79 new genus of animal were formed with the initial creation of savanna. So I find that incredible. Really, really interesting. So without the savannas, we wouldn't have the diversity of animal that we have these days. We are in the prime seat. Quite a few vehicles joining us now. Ben 10 wants to know if I can tell male or female. At the moment, they're not sitting still long enough for me to see. But it is hard to tell. We'd have to take some photos, I think. But if we were maybe a little bit closer, that one on the right, let's see. That looks like a female. She's loving her little bush. And that's another female there walking back. And that looked like another female, so it looked like 3. Good afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are sitting in the Maasai Mara, the Mara Triangle in Kenya, with a pride of lions, a small pride known as the marsh breakaways. They are sitting here in the open, a nice big open marsh area, and we have the cubs, 6 to 8 of them I think at the moment, are running around and playing with each other. This is fantastic stuff. Please feel free to comment in the box below. Send your questions. Let us know what we can tell you about. This is live. This is action. It's happening in the moment. We're with Archie on camera, and my name is Steve Falconbridge. Okay, sorry about that, folks. We tried to do an action broadcast there, and it didn't work. But we're going to attempt it one more time. Hope you bear with us, but we're still going to stay with these cubs. Don't feel the need to stop your questions. Keep them coming. I know this is fun just to watch. Important takedown skills. Isn't that gorgeous? The one on the floor is definitely bigger than the others. Whether it's from the same brood, I'm not sure. It probably might just be a male, but I think it's a little bit older. Good afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. We are at the moment sitting in an open floodplain with a small pride of lions known as the Marsh Breakaway Pride. We're busy watching 6 or so cubs that are full of beans after a meal of mum's milk and possibly some warthog this morning, busy playing. This is live. This is happening as we speak. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined by Archie on camera. Please feel free to post your comments below and your questions. See if we can chat about that. We're coming to you live, as I say, from Kenya in the Maasai Mara. The adults are lying down. They had a little bit too much warthog this morning. Not too much, because their bellies are not too full. Normally if a belly's full, it sits higher than the shoulder and higher than the hip. But there are 5 adult lionesses here, and what I thought earlier was 8, but I've only since counted 6 youngsters. And there, have a look at that one in the middle of the screen, Arch. In the stalk posture, there it goes. Oh, in the takedown. This kind of play that you see in cats is very, very important to them being integrated into the pride. There we go, the typical bite on the buffalo's tail. There we go, takedown. Not only are they fighting with each other, play fighting, to defend or to fight against other lions, but they're also using that for pull down and takedown of larger prey. Mary, this is too cute. I agree with you. There's nothing cuter than lions playing. And look at it. This is how they learn. This is very important to their behavior. They are a social cat, and the females out of these youngsters, if they reach maturity, will join the ranks of the battle elite in the pride and help in the hunting. They will not be allowed to sit by and watch. They will have to be integral in the hunting techniques, and it's important that they learn. I'd say these cubs are between 3 and 4, maybe 5 months old, and they're primarily feeding on milk. I think that one in the background is a little bit older, but you can still see they're very, very cute. There's some other vehicles in the sighting. We are in the Maasai Mara triangle, so there is open access to a lot of vehicles, so apologies for the noise, but the lions aren't taking too much. Watch, he's sneaking up behind. What's he going to do? There's the takedown, the bite of the buffalo tail. You see that in adults. They jump on the back of a large animal like a buffalo, staying away from the horns, and they'll bite down and pull down with their very sharp claws. Terry asks, are all the cubs from the same mother? No, that individual there is a bit bigger, and then 6 in total. I think there might be more, but an individual lioness will only have maybe 3, maximum 4 at a time, but on average 2 to 3, and I'm sure that more than one of these females are suckling at the moment, and it's something that happens in lion prides. The females will come into estrus at the same time, which allows them to breed at the same time, which allows them to give the ability for communal suckling, which means that either one of the aunts or mothers will allow the cubs to suckle, and what that in turn leads to is that you get ranks developing into the pride of the same sort of age. So it's a very important aspect of that. But another important aspect that a lot of people overlook is if, say, there's 6 or 8 cubs in a pride, and maybe 4 of them, 5 of them are male, that there's generally a 50% ratio. So let's say there's 10 cubs and 5 of them are male, and if all 5 of them can reach sort of the age of 2, 3 years old, they will eventually get pushed out of the pride. But because there's 4 or 5 of them, the chances of them taking the genes from this pride and basically creating their own pride sooner are much greater than if it's just one male. So having cubs at the same time also benefits that. So communal suckling, there's also quite a high mortality, so you've got a good chance of at least having 1 or 2 of 6, or maybe 3 or 4 of 6 surviving, depending on the success of the pride. And they need that for sort of adding to the ranks of lionesses. Kimberly, I believe this is the marsh breakaway pride. Isn't that the cutest little cub you've ever seen? I think they're getting a little bit tired, as little kittens and little puppies do after a little bit of play. The play starts getting a little bit less exertive. Those two are still having a go. The typical cat attack. They are so soft and cuddly, and there we go. Take down. Yes, Patty, what a sweet sighting. Little sweetlings indeed. They are having so much fun with each other, and now it's time to go and give Mum a little bit of love, and maybe scratch her on the face and see if she's going to get up. Maybe she's going to give a little cuddle now. Oh, she's not too bothered. There we go. Hello, Mum. Oh, isn't that the cutest? Go to the next adult and give her a little bit of love as well. Very important element of lion society is the tactile communication, the touch. There's lots of touch and reaffirming of bonds. They're sisters and grannies and daughters, and they've got to grow up together and hunt together, and they've got to have each other's back. And if they're not close and if they're not strong as a unit, they will never work as a unit. So there's lots of important communication between them. There's another lioness at the back. She's not too bothered with the cubs playing. She knows it's an important part of their day. Also tires them out a bit and hopes they'll sleep. So far, all I've seen is girls. I haven't seen a young boy, which maybe I'm just not seeing it clearly, but there's generally a 50% ratio of male and female cubs. Morali wants to know, why have we not seen a male with this pride? Now, the 5 females that are here, maybe they've all got cubs, maybe they don't. They probably all do. And these females, after giving birth, will not be reproductive for more than 2.5 years. So there's absolutely nothing of interest to these females, or of these females to those males. So the males stay away if they are the father. But in saying that, if a male comes into the area that happens to be not the father, and he wants to mate, there's a good chance he might kill these cubs, because what that does, and I know it sounds very, very harsh, but what that does do is that if a lioness has her cubs and they get killed, quite often that female will come back into estrus within a month. So it's a very, very important strategy that male lions do. Not all male lions do it, but if you think about it, male lions, the more of them, if one does it, he has generally more of his traits passed on through the generations because he has more cubs. If a male lion doesn't kill cubs and he hangs around with a pride that doesn't breed with them, his genes aren't going forward. So it doesn't really benefit him. So it's not in all lions, but it is something quite common in male lions these days because they want to breed. So the males don't spend too much time with the females. They want the females to do the hunting, and they'll do the eating. Katie, the only way to tell the difference between male and female cubs is to look underneath the tail from behind, and you either see a little sac, a little genital sac, or you don't. And that is the only real way at this age to tell. So unless they turn around and give us a proper show of their bottom, it's very hard to see. Very hard to see. As they get older, they'll start showing different sizes, and the young males will start showing a little bit of fur around the neck and the head, but other than that, there's no other way. Marvelous. Kimberly, yes, they do. They do have their hands full with these cubs. They do indeed. But they seem to be quite a successful pride, and the cubs seem to be doing quite well. It is still early days, and it is difficult to say how the fates will fare for these youngsters. But as is the want of the natural world, cubs will survive or they won't. The weakest will not go forward, and the stronger ones will survive, and that's how the natural world operates, and just the way it works. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed and learnt a little bit more about lions and enjoyed the view of these cubs running around. I know I have. If you'd like to continue on watching, we are still live, so feel free to Google Safari Live and continue the show. We're on for another hour or so. Please do so. But in the meantime, I'm going to say to the rest of you, good night. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying through with us. Feel free once again to send your questions and comments through to #SafariLive. We're having a wonderful time with these young cubs. They are having all sorts of interesting behavior. Look at that. See the posture? Right down low. Look at that. It's very important behavior. See how you can just see the ears from behind? We think it's play, but play is so important to these animals' upbringing. There we go. Oh. It's not too serious, obviously, but it's all about body language. And as they, oh, there we go, growling at us. Look at that. Aren't you ferocious, little one? Ferocious. Now, most people would think these are tame lions. They are not. They're completely wild. We're in a vehicle in one of the wildest places on the earth. Oh, Is that a little boy? I think that's a little boy. Yes, that looked like a little genital sac there. Oh, of course it's a boy. He's much rougher than the girls. Boys always are, aren't they? Adrian, the comments or asks a question, are they old enough to eat meat? They might have a little bit of meat, but at the moment I'd say that they're still very, very dependent on mother's milk. For the first 6 months or so they're still drinking, and they will drink for a little bit longer than that, but only after 6 months do they really start getting a proper taste for meat. Doesn't mean that they won't feed, it just means that they're reliant a lot on mum's milk. And what you'll often find with cubs of this age, if they do eat meat, they really do get the runs. They have a very bad tummy afterwards because the body's not designed to deal with meat. It takes a bit of time from the milk tummy to the meat tummy for lions to be able to get past that. So it's not uncommon when you've seen a few of them standing up and having what seem to be little wet poos, which is always charming, but they are having so much fun and playing here. This is always nice to see. It's been so long since I've seen so many cubs and playing, and the parents are just letting them do it because they know the more fun and more energy they experience, the more time that they're going to have to rest later. Or, you know, if you have, I think a lot of parents these days encourage their kids to play. Unfortunately, I think technology has taken over. We used to run around and play outside all the time, because that was what we do. You run and you play and you run and you play outdoors. No Sony PlayStations for these lions. Everything they're doing, all their play, is keying them up to survival in the wild. And I know sometimes it can look quite rough, and it does get a bit rougher. I know the Nkuhuma Pride, they've got that one really young cub. He's trying to play like this with the bigger cubs, and they are just way too big and strong. It's like having brothers that are many years older than you. You just never have a chance. You're always downplayed by them because they're just far bigger and stronger, and probably also bored of you. But in this case, these youngsters are loving life. Wonderful. They just seem to have endless energy. If that's a wonderful afternoon on the marsh. We'll definitely be coming back here again. Elephants and buffalo galore. Hyenas doing their thing. Lions. Beautiful sun moving towards the horizon. You can probably hear some other people in the background. Apologize for that. There we go, pulling of the tail. What else is a tail for if not to pull in your mouth? Just a vehicle repositioning behind us. Oh, fantastic. Noelle is on drive this afternoon. We're going to be going down to her shortly while we finish up our little view of the lions here. Having an awesome time. Please feel free to send your comments and questions still through. We're going to be going 1,600 miles back down to South Africa with Noelle, who's got some Ellies.
Everyone, sorry I've been away for a little while, but we are with you now with a beautiful Davi. Hello, Davi. We've had gremlins like you would not believe, but they're all sorted, thankfully, thank goodness. And we are sitting here with a beautiful marula tree with a good huge female is what I was going with, but that sounded horrible. With a nice breeding herd is where I'm trying to go with it, and a really large matriarch that's there on the right-hand side. Now, on the left of the tree, we've got a teeny tiny little elephant who's busy trying to nurse. And I'm watching him try to nurse off this female, and I actually get the feeling that it's not really his mum because she keeps moving away and pushing him away. I have seen this before. I've seen where females have given birth and can't lactate, and I've seen little ones trying from other, oh my goodness, yeah, from other females as well. Sorry, I was just looking at the bottom there. So I'm not really sure. Also, the one that he's trying to nurse from is young. So it's an interesting little scenario that's happening here. I'm not saying that he is not going to get nourishment and that his mom doesn't have milk. I'm just saying in this particular circumstance, I think he's just slightly confused about what he's supposed to be doing. Now, an elephant that's not slightly confused is our other little pairing up here with the matriarch and her youngster, who did just get a little bit of a drink. Brian, you would like to know if elephants are being born without tusks because of poaching. So, Brian, tuskless elephants, tushless elephants is a normal occurrence. It does happen. It's like humans being born with or without wisdom teeth. There's nothing different there. What you will see because of a slash some poaching, and poaching is illegal hunting, you will see that a lot of the large genetics, the genetics for the large tusks, it has been taken out, and that's why you're seeing more herds these days with either smaller tush or with no tush at all. So that's how that sort of fits in together. We're just meandering around to where they're headed. They're going to go from a marula tree to marula tree. It is marula season, and they are accessing every tree that they know that has good fruits. Some of it is by memory, and some of it is by sort of sniffing it out, and also just checking throughout the fruiting season here. Sorry, Mama. I'm really impressed with this female that's just in front of us. I don't think she's that old. I think she's in her mid-20s, but she's quite large. She's got very long legs, and I think she's going to grow into herself quite well. The female that's behind her has a little bit of a shorter body and is looking rather rotund, possibly pregnant, and a little bit older than this tall one we saw here. Yeah, she's heavy pregnant, hey? You can actually see the baby moving around inside of her a little bit. And this is actually an interesting, I'm just going to stop just here. This is an interesting little interaction that's happening. This one female is keeping the other one away. Anna, you'd like to know if the elephants in the Maasai Mara and the elephants in the Sabi Sands in South Africa have a different lifespan. No, elephants, African savanna elephants in general, it's about 60 to 65 years, but it's very similar to humans. You can get humans that live the sort of average, you can get humans that live a little bit less, and humans that live a little bit more. Elephants are similar to that. That female is pushing out that other female. Very interesting. The only other time I've physically witnessed this in the wild was with a very old female elephant who was not happy with one of the younger females who was giving birth too early, and then with a female that had been brought into captivity and the other females didn't like her. They kept beating her up. So while we're going to try and get another view of these Ellies, let's head on up to Jamie, who's still there in the Maasai Mara, about 1,600 miles away.
We are quite a long way away and just enjoying the view before it's time to say farewell to you all from the Mara team. But just a nice opportunity to sit and watch as the sun starts going down. Everything's golden. Brent gave you a bit of a geography lesson as to where he was. I can actually show you where Talek is. The village of Talek is just over there in front of me. We're on the other side of the Talek River. So there we go. There's Talek town, I guess. Let's call it Talek Town for want of a better description. There's Talek Town. That's where, close to where we stay when we're on this side of the river. And this vast open space around it that consists of the Mara National Reserve and the conservancies as well. This enormous area. I don't quite know how many times I need to say enormous in order to convey just how enormous it really is. And it is enormous. There you go. That must be about 6 times. Not quite my record of, I don't know how many Incredibles I said in one TV show. There's Lookout Hill. We've just touched on Lookout Hill. Bethany, there's a couple of different reasons for why the grass is shorter here than it is in the triangle. In this area, it's just utilized by a greater number of animals, and then here in particular, it's quite rocky soils, very, very rocky actually. So a different type of soil altogether. So that's one of the reasons why it is shorter. There's not as much red grass up on the top of these rocky crests as there are down in the sort of floodplains and the open plains around the Mara Triangle and around parts of the Mara National Reserve as well. So it's got to do with utilization, it's got to do with where the migration spends most of its time, how much time there is for recovery. There's a lot more in terms of animals, essentially, in this particular area that are feeding off the grasses. So a combination of geography, soil types, the amount of rain will also affect it, as well as the utilization by the various grazers. There's lots of different reasons, but it all totals up together. And I'm sure every year it's absolutely, it's different. Each and every single year, I'm sure the effects are felt slightly differently depending on the rainfall and where the migration decided to go. All right, it is a time for the Mara teams to say good evening to all, and also we're going to be saying goodbye to most of our social media platforms. So if you'd like to continue your safari with the South African crew, then you can just Google Safari Live to find the rest of it. So enjoy, for those